What is up, folks? What is going on? We are here with the man, the myth, and the legend, Brad Pilon. And we are going to be, this is the godfather of what we call intermittent fasting, or fasting in general, right?
Yeah, just fasting.
Okay. Fasting in general. And today we're going to be talking about fasting and how it's going to help you get lean,
Yeah.
lean as fuck, right?
Yeah.
How you can use fasting to benefit you. And again, we're talking to the original, the Godfather, right here about exactly how we got to this point. How we
You
got to
make
the
me
point
feel
where
old, man.
the Don Dada, the Godfather of fasting, and how we got to this point where it's such a big thing. But a lot of you guys out there may not understand it that well, may not know what's going on. So let me tell you a little bit about Brad. And Brad is one of the leading researchers. He was in the lab actually going over this stuff and actually testing the theories that he eventually put into his book. The author of Eat, Stop, Eat, which has been one of the most famous books when it comes to intermittent fasting or fasting in general over the last 10 or so years, Brad, I want to say.
Yep.
And again, he's the godfather of what we call intermittent fasting to this day. So we're very excited to have him on. We're going to talk to you guys about exactly how this stuff or where we started and where we're at right now and how it can benefit you fasting in general. So, Brad, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you became the guy behind all this?
Yeah, so I've been interested in health and fitness, muscle, fat loss since probably a really unhealthy young age of 10 or 12, right? Just all in. We're going back to Lou Ferrigno's The Incredible Hulk, that kind of thing, right? It was just always interesting to me. So at about 14, I got my first job in a supplement shop, right? So selling supplements, talking to people about muscle and fat loss, and this protein does this, and this protein does that.
You're that young kid at the GNC selling the fat burners, basically.
Yeah, but at 14, people are coming up and asking me questions, and I'm like, I have this one, right? No real clue what's going on. Just whatever I read in Muscle Media 2000 is what I told people in the shop, right? So, but it got, that was the age when you had Flex magazine and you had, Muscle and Fitness, and then you had these other kind of ones coming in, Muscular Development, Muscle Media 2000, that took a bit more of the science knows approach, right? And it was studies say, and it was very different from back in that time. Muscle and Fitness and Flex were saying, Natural Somebody says this, right? It was just what do the pros do. And so these other magazines took on the, what do the scientists say kind of approach. And that really spoke to me, and I really liked it. So in finishing off high school, I decided to go to university to study nutrition. And that was a side, more than the exercise physiology side, the how to lift weights. The nutrition part really seemed to speak to me. So that's what I went right into. And I loved it. It was, 4 years of awesome. And at the end of my degree, I realized that the only issue was I had no interest in being a dietitian whatsoever, right? Working one-on-one with people was just not something I was interested in. I really liked kind of the reviewing the research and getting down into that area. So I left university. Instead of going on to become a dietitian, I went to work at a supplement company. It was a young upstart company, maybe 30 people. And it was right place, right time, and that company took off, and it grew. And so I found myself in research and development. Then I found myself doing regulatory affairs and learning about the research. And then by the end of it, I was running the R&D department, running the actual, interfacing with the scientists doing our clinical trials, which was amazing, except it got that bug in my back of my head being you should go back to school. You should be on that side of the table, right? And
exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to do. Every time I think about school, I'm like, nah, it's got to be another way.
Yeah.
But God bless you, man. Thank God for that.
Yeah, but my brain, not working at 100%, was you don't want a salary and money. You want to go back to school. You want to pay people. You want to go back to school and have nothing. How awesome does that sound? So the crazy part of my brain, it won. I don't know how that happened. And so I went back to school, and I was originally going to study the perfect muscle building fat loss diet, because that's an easy thing to cover, right? And it ended up being so vague. I was like, all right, let's start ground one, right? Let's go with all the horrible things that happen to you when you don't eat every 2 hours. Well, we'll just cover that off, and then we'll build up from there. And so I started studying what happens when you don't eat. And some cool things start happening when you don't eat. And I'm like, well, it's kind of cool. I'm like, but you know what? It's like one paper I don't agree with, so I'm going to stick that in the garbage pile, right? And then I read another paper, and I'm like, oh, this one's kind of cool, too. I'll put it in the garbage pile as well, though. It doesn't agree with what I'm thinking. And as that garbage pile slowly started growing, I'm like, uh-oh. Like, maybe I don't know everything I think I know. And maybe what I think I know might not even be, like, this isn't good. So I had an option, right, which is ignore all this kind of cool research, just go along with, eat your protein, carbs, and fats every 2 hours, buy an alarm. It's the only way to get big and lean. Or I could kind of look at, see what's kind of, red pill, blue pill. Let's go down this road. So I changed my focus, and I started looking at the metabolic effects of short term, which is, for me, 12 to 72 hours of fasting in humans. All right? And I'm like, let's just dive down this path. And the really cool thing is, most studies in exercise physiology have a placebo group, right? So, Frank, if you're studying branched-chain amino acids, and you got a bunch of guys in the study, and you're like, all right, you're all going to stop eating at 10 tonight. Tomorrow you're going to come into my lab at around 10 in the morning. I'm going to hook you up with a whole bunch of tubes and stuff. We're going to wait around, and then around, 2 or 3 that day, you're going to do 8 sets of 8 on leg press. Then right after that, I'm going to give you a bunch of branched-chain amino acids, and then we're going to measure you for 5 or 6 hours and see what happens, right? But you're like, I need to control this. So this group of guys over here, you're just getting flavoring and aspartame, right? You're not getting anti-branched-chain amino acids.
You think you're getting the gains, but you got the placebo.
Exactly, but the placebo people then are fasting. So I'm like, hey, Frank, can I have that data? I want you to do all the work, but if you can sort of strobe over that data, let me know what happened to those people, that'd be awesome. So most of my research was just looking at existing data on fasting, right? So, and pretty much any trial that had people not eat, that was my wheelhouse. And so I was able to build out from there a really strong understanding of what happens when people don't eat for a brief period of time. And then push comes to shove, end of my grad work, it's all done. I go to my school, and I'm like, is this work, like, is it yours? Is it mine? Who owns this work? And they're like, it's yours. Do what you want with it. I'm like, I'm going to publish it. And they're like, good luck with that. But it worked out. And that's sort of when that was all like 2005, 6, and 7 that all happened. Sort of back when everything was all about eating every 2 hours. And then I'm the crazy guy who came on the scene saying, hey, you don't need to eat so often.
You don't have to sweat. You don't have to sweat that. The interesting thing is, I think people still actually believe that you have to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Now, there's other people that say, like, if you're like a bodybuilder and that's what you do, then maybe that's more ideal. But for the rest of us, like regular people who are just trying to make it through the day and be fit to a certain degree, can pretty much kind of throw that out the window, right?
Yeah, and there's some things that I don't know. Like, so,
wait,
guys and girls are on steroids.
Come on, man. What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's a really small area of the world.
What I got you on this channel for, man? What's going on right now?
Yeah, no, just hang up on me now. No, but guys and girls on steroids, right? So they're groups who you would not typically study. So I don't know. It's like maybe a meal every hour is best for them. Right.
Sure. That's kind of like, is that like unethical to study people on steroids? Like, a lot of stuff is unethical in research. Like sometimes they're like, oh, we can't figure that out because we just can't do that to people. It's
unethical. It's also kind of hard to go around a school and put up flyers being like, hey, are you on a cycle right now? If so, I want to study. Right. And actually, it's more common to do that now. But 10 years ago, not so common. So
it was kind of frowned upon.
Yeah, it's anything. And the other area I'm not sure about is if you go to, like, true elite athletes. So not your buddy with the great vert, but your buddy who actually plays in the NBA. They're kind of hard to study, too, because, when you got millions of dollars on the line, you're not going to be like, hey, yeah, mess with my diet and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? So
don't feed me for several hours and let's see what happens.
Mind you, a number of them are on intermittent fasting protocols now, but back in the day, that was just hard data to get. So but for the most part, to your point, for the average person just trying to get lean, build muscle, and do so maybe in a way that's a bit easier, then like intermittent fasting is the thing you should be looking into.
Sure. So I mean, let's go into that. What were the things that you found? What were the benefits for the intermittent faster that maybe your average person doesn't realize? Hey, this can be some good stuff, man.
Yeah, the best way. I mean, there's so much really cool hormonal stuff that goes on, right? That just makes it really interesting. But the starting point is just to imagine that what you're doing is you're taking, let's say, a week's worth of dieting, and you're taking that, you're compressing it into one 24-hour period. So you get 24 hours of no food, which means on all the other days you can eat normally. And for some people, that's amazing, right? Like, I'm just going to get this out of the way. It's gone. And if you're a big guy, if you're 6'2", and you're carrying a lot of muscle mass, if I tell you to cut your calories down a bit, then, like, poor you have to go down from, like, 2,500 calories a day to, like, 2,100. Like, your day is not that bad, right? Like, you're still getting to eat food. If you're a 5'2" woman, and you're like, look, I need to cut your calories down a bit, and, like, she's to what, right? Like, it's like, I get to eat 1,000 calories a day now, 1,200. It's like, I'm so looking forward to my 1 cup of yogurt and half a banana for breakfast. That's not fair, right? So for some people, the option of, tell you what, do all the dieting in this one day, and then on all the other days you can still eat 1,500 calories. To some people, that's like, oh yeah, I'm doing that. Like, I'm all in. So it was the ease of use that was the main thing. All the hormone data just reaffirms what we already knew, which is the idea that you just burn massive amounts of muscle away when you don't eat is ridiculous. And for the vast majority of healthy people, as you go longer into a fast, you just start burning more and more body fat, right? So, and that's really controlled by the alterations in your insulin dropping down because there's no food, and your growth hormone going up because there's no food. So the insulin going down and the growth hormone going up allows fat to be released from your fat stores, and then since it's in your blood, it's a priority, and it gets used as a fuel source. So all the data, all that like hard number crunching, ended up just being to say, like when you don't eat, you burn fat. Don't worry about it. You're not losing 30 pounds of muscle this morning. You're good, right? You do lose, and lose is a hard word, a little bit of muscle, but it's the same amount you kind of cycle through in any given day because you're always breaking down a little bit of muscle here. You're taking those amino acids. You're rebuilding something over here with them. So it's a constant flux. And we do see that in fasting. It's not like fasting turns that flux off in any way. But if it doesn't upregulate to a way that would be scary, you're simply going, normal stuff is still going on. My muscles are still repairing and rebuilding. There's going to be that cycle going on. But what's really important is over here, holy cow, look at the amount of fat I'm burning. And once you know you are burning fat during a fast, especially around 24 hours, anything really past about 12 or 14, depending on how big that last meal was, you're getting into a pretty good fat burning state. Well, now that we know that's happening, that makes this whole idea of just not eating plausible and realistic for a lot of people. And then it just goes from there talking about the psychology of it, which is a diet. Your typical 12-week diet, for most of us, except for like the superhuman people, it's a slow, inevitable march to messing up. Right? Like at one point you're going to screw up that diet and you're going to be like, oh, man, done. I don't know what happened. I just one slice of pizza and then I cracked and I had the pizza, right? And that's a negative reinforcement, right? Because now you're like, well, I can't do this. But I'm going to try again, but I'm going to be even stricter this time. You know what that means? That means even earlier you're going to mess up. Instead of a pizza, you're like, no, I ordered all the pizza. Like, all of it. You know, but the pizza man goes up and is like, are you guys having a party? You're like, no, man, it's just me breaking my diet, right? Like, so,
yeah,
but with fasting.
If I'm having pizza, I'm having all the pizza. That's why I can't eat pizza really that much anymore, because I almost ate all of it.
Yeah. But with fasting, once you've done a 24-hour fast, you're done, right? Like, it's not like you keep going until you break. You said 24 hours. This is 24 hours. I'm done. And you're going, like, I can do that. Like, I just rock that fast. I'm gonna be able to do the next one, no problem. So there's more positive reinforcement, right? And then it's the ability to, if you're fasting, let's say twice a week, Monday and Thursday. That means at tops, you have 2 or 3 days at a time. You gotta just be like zoned in and be like, okay, I can diet properly and not mess up in 2 to 3 days. And then you fast and you start over. So even if you did kind of like, I ate a bit more than I should have, you get to sort of reset button every couple of days, which really makes the monotony of dieting go away. So there's just so many benefits beyond just the hormonal aspect of fat loss that make it really, really useful for so many people.
So, so probably the big thing is, okay, we're gonna burn fat a lot easier. It's gonna be easier to just maintain diet in general if you can deal with being hungry for a little while, which is usually most people got to get used to that a little bit. It'll freak them out at first. But you would say the main hormonal drivers are insulin down, growth hormone up. Right now, is that influencing other hormones? Some guys will correlate growth hormone and say, okay, testosterone rises. I mean, is there other stuff going on? Or are we really just looking at, okay, boom, we can, because these things happen, we're burning fat very well, and that's awesome. So
those are our two markers. So you've got a small increase in test in a 24-hour fast. It's significant, but it's nothing for me to like lose my mind over. This is gonna be the next testosterone replacement.
Well, we're not calling it a test booster, in other words.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so get over that.
Exactly, it's significant, but we're good, right? And the main thing is, I mean, your GH levels are going up like 2,000%. I know people hate those kind of high percent numbers, but when you're dealing with decimals, that happens, right? So this is a massive increase in GH. And to give you an idea,
which does what else besides fat burning? Are there other benefits in that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tied. Most hormones are tied in just like a web of benefits. So a high growth hormone, you're dealing with the way your body handles sugar, the way your body handles fat, the way your body regenerates. GH is one of the main hormones released while you're sleeping. So it's part of that entire regenerative process of the body. Right, you're kind of cycling through this period of time where when insulin is high during the day when you're eating, you're just storing stuff you might need later. And then when you're done with that, insulin goes down, then the GH comes up, and it's like, all right, we got a bunch of stored stuff. What do we need to fix? Like, let's just go through and figure out what's going on here. I mean, it's called growth hormone basically because it's what's responsible for children's increase in height. But, it's part of it. It's not the only thing. But it should almost be renamed as like fasting hormone or regenerating hormone because it does so many other things.
Yeah.
It's not something you want high all the time, right? Just like any other hormone, there's a right time, right place. GH should be high when you're fasting. When there's nothing, when insulin is low is when you want GH high. You hear what all these celebs and they're shooting GH. They're actually injecting it. I'm like sitting there going, okay, if you're doing that, though, make sure you're doing it when you're like fasting. Like I don't want to see insulin high and GH high at the same time for prolonged periods of time because that's just not the way your body works.
Throws off the endocrine, so the whole balance of
whole thing. Yeah, you got to really do it like a web, exactly, right? And it's all connected, and they do different things depending on what other hormones are high or low. So, but the main benefit we're looking at here is preservation of lean body mass, right? Because your GH is looking around being, what are we fixing and repairing, not what are we getting rid of. Right? It's not like massive high doses of cortisol, which is just like, look, cortisol is like an emergency hormone where you're like, holy crap, something's going on. We just need energy. We need to take it from anywhere. Let's just get it, right? GH is different. GH is more of a repair and rebuild. So to give you an idea, if you were to fast for me in a trial and I were to block your GH release and be like, hey, Frank, no GH for you, you would see an increased loss of muscle mass. Right? So, and you'd see a decrease in fat loss. And the main thing is, if your fat isn't coming out properly to be used as a fuel, you need fuel from somewhere. Right? So that's when you see this protein loss going on. So your GH not only responsible for fat burning, it's also what's preventing the muscle loss or any increase in muscle loss. So just a massive sort of milieu of things that really is optimal for when you're trying to fix the way your body looks. Because just losing weight, I mean, any diet can do that, right? But you want to make sure you're losing as much fat as possible while maintaining as much lean body mass as possible. That's kind of the sweet spot, and that's what fasting offers.
That's what keeps metabolism
up
is muscle mass in relationship to body fat or high muscle mass, and and lower body fat percentages. That's kind of what you're
That's
looking
what you're
for.
after. Yeah, and you don't just want to be a smaller version of your current self.
Yeah, you want to
Right?
keep the muscle.
Yeah, tweak the ratios, exactly.
You want to keep the muscle, lose the fat, and some people will just look at the scale and they'll be like, okay, I'm losing weight. Just again, if you're using this as a strictly weight loss protocol, you might be losing weight, but if you're losing muscle, not so advantageous to look in the mirror.
Exactly. And the cool thing with fasting is the immediacy of it, right? So it's impossible to fast without losing anywhere from like a quarter to a half pound of body weight, of non-water body weight. Literally, unless you're dead, you're losing during that time. That level of absoluteness really helps people get it, that you're like, well, there's no way I didn't lose weight. So if you step on the scale after a fast and your weight didn't change, then you're like, oh, okay, well, obviously it's just water. It's the only explanation, right? Because you're losing non-water body weight when you fast. So then knowing that kind of level of absolution, then it really makes it clear, like, okay, I just lost a half pound. Majority of that was probably body fat. I got 3 days of eating to go. Let's not mess this up. Like, let's just make those 3 days count, eat responsibly, and then I'm going to fast again. And it can end up being that kind of cool, 2 steps of fat loss, 1 step back, 2 steps of fat loss, 1 step back routine that as long as you keep in mind that your water levels and your water weight fluctuates over the days, over the hours, over the weeks, and even over the months, that the trend is always this really cool trend down. You may have these weird flows, but the trend is always down. And that kind of reassurance, then knowing that the science is like, yeah, it's, of that half pound you lost, a good amount of that's fat, you're like, all right, game on, I can do this.
Sure. And a lot of people, they'll look at the scale and not understand fluctuations in general when you're trying to lose fat. Like, they won't understand that it'll jump around from day to day, from week to week. But as we were just saying, as long as that trend is coming down, and if we're losing fat for the most part, you're probably going to lose weight for the most part, depending on how much fat you start with in relationship to muscle mass. Correct?
Yeah, but you can hide that weight loss. Like, so if you were to, so I just said you're going to lose about a half pound of non-water weight. You're probably going to lose about at least 1.5 pounds of water weight. So that's 2 pounds doing my quick math, right? If during a fast you're like, okay, I'm going to drink 4 liters of water during my entire fast, then there may be a good chance that next morning when you step on the scale, you're like, I'm actually up in weight. Just water, right? Sure. So the water fluxes really sort of mess with people's heads. So you just have to understand that, like, as long as you're breathing, you're losing weight. And it's non-water weight. So you're good. And then it's going from that being, okay, well, I'm fasting, I'm losing weight that's not water. I'm not replacing that weight because I'm not eating. So this has to be working. So I just got to stick with this and keep it going. And that's the people who see, if you can get that in your head, you're not doing anything bad to yourself, and this is just a really effective way to lose weight, then it really reinforces what you're doing, and you see just really, really great results.
Sure. So some people they might talk about energy, and they talk about focus as well. Is there's actual facts proven behind this? Okay, really, GH is going to help increase energy, right? How about focus? I mean, what are we looking at in terms of those things?
So you can go over some pretty simple trials. They're focus trials. They're being able to reproduce or recall numbers, etc. And what we find is that in adults, you actually seem to see, in some of these trials, you see an improvement. Typically, it's focus and it's recall. In some, you see no effect. But in general, the trend is actually towards a better focus. You do go through periods of time when you're fasting when you are hungry. There's just no way to go around that, right? In fact, it's kind of should be expected. You're not eating. You're going to be hungry. And it's a weird kind of hunger because it's not always a true physiological, like, hunger. A lot of it is expectation. So if Frank, if you're just used to, every day at 11, you have a shake and a donut, I don't know, right? And then
always, pretty much daily.
And then, let's say you're not even fasting. You're not fasting at all. And you go and you get shake and somebody ate your donut. Like, you want that donut. You're expecting, I know, right? Someone's getting it. But you were expecting it.
Big problem.
And you are hungry. And, like, people are sitting there going, like, dude, you just had a shake. Like, you're good. And you're like, no, I am not good. Someone's finding me a donut. And it's not like if someone's like, well, here, I've got a bagel. because that's not a donut, that's a bagel. Like I'm hungry for a donut. So that happens a lot in fasting, right? Where you're
For the most
eating.
part, you're conditioned to eat a certain
Exactly.
way, do a
And you're
certain thing. A
conditioned
lot
to
of it is
eat.
mental.
Yeah, you're conditioned to eat at certain places with certain people at certain times,
Yep.
right? So there's a bit of that you got to get over.
Yep.
And sometimes if that conditioning kicks in and you're trying to get a task done, that's when you're like, okay, the focus isn't there. But it's just sort of unlearning that conditioning and being like, all right, no, every time I see Frank, we don't need to get chicken wings. I'm good, right? And it's that kind of undoing of your habits.
That's why we don't hang out that much, man. You're just right. You're in Canada. I'm over here. Otherwise, we're eating chicken wings all the time. No good. No good. Listen, you stay in Canada, man.
Yeah. I'm just gonna start mailing you chicken wings every so often. Right?
Sabotage.
But yeah, so the research on focus is really clear that it's null to improved. The real life application is a bit different because it's depending on if you're really expecting to eat at time. And I'm like, no, Frank, don't eat. Do this math test. You're like, I'm not doing this math test, right? Like, this sucks. So it takes a little bit of conditioning to get out of being used to eating or knowing, like, if it's 11 and you're done your fast at noon, you're going to be all right, right? You just got to realize that you're just delaying. It's not like you're never going to get to eat again. You get to eat. And that tends to help people then get the focus back.
Okay, so definitely there is a little bit. So some people actually, they try to use fasting to a certain degree to be more focused on their work, and obviously as you get past some of the stuff you're talking about,
Yeah.
So there are benefits to where there is more mental clarity and focus in general when you're fasting. Once you get over,
so when I'm hungry, fasting is when I'm writing. So all the writing I do when it's working on a new book are like on the fasting days. Non-fasting days I'll edit and do that kind of stuff, but fasting days is when I'm like I can zone in and just words actually come out, which is always a nice feeling. So.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So you can, if you're trying to be more focused, fasting can help once you get over I'm hungry, and that's is when you first start. Now I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years myself. So yeah, when you first start, you're just not used to it, and just kind of touch on your point. Like, I like 5 years ago, I would probably do I would normally, and I've adjusted the way I cheat nowadays. So I don't cheat a whole Sunday anymore, but I would cheat a whole Sunday. And then I would fast all the way to Tuesday morning, so over 24 hours. And I kind of got away from that, where I just kind of fast half the day now. Start at 12, 2, sometimes 5, depending on the day. But just this weekend, I was like, okay, I got to get back to where I want to do a longer fast. I want to hit a 48-hour fast. And I probably told myself that for about 4 weeks, and I was dead set, mid-Monday to do it. And then by the end of Monday, I'm like, I'm going to eat, So it took me about 4 weeks to get out of this mindset of what I normally do Monday and get into my 48-hour fast. And I'm used to it as well. So again, for you guys out there, you're going to start fasting. Don't expect to be used to it at first, but after a little bit, it gets fairly comfortable, I would say. So just kind of touch on your point there.
Yeah. No, it takes a little bit. Guys, the joke is always my wife, when we were in university, in her purse would have to carry protein bars, because if I didn't eat every 2 hours, I'd get really hungry and pissy. And now I don't eat for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm still pissy, but I mean,
there's no solving that.
Yeah, but she's like, dude, come on. I used to have to carry these things around for you, right?
Yeah.
So, but it is very much, food is very much a mindset thing, right? And it's a lot of it's expectation, and a lot of it is, the fear that's ingrained in you as a young bodybuilder that bad things are happening to you if you don't eat every 2 or 3 hours. Sure. That fear becomes very real, right? And you feel it, right? You actually, okay, I'm tired now and I'm exhausted. And you're like, dude, we're literally driving home from dinner. You're going to be okay. I'm like, no, I got to eat something, right? I know bad things are happening.
Protein, bro, I got to get it.
Yeah, I got to get it in, right? But a lot of it is just accepting. Once you accept, you're like, hey, you know what? A, bad things aren't happening. And B, kind of getting out of my own body's way, just letting it do what it does. We overthink and always think we have to intervene, right? It's if I want to lose fat, I got to do something, right? And you're like, no, you don't have to do anything. Your body knows how to lose fat. That's why it's there, right? It's just don't eat and let your body do what it does. No, I gotta be active in this, right? I gotta take this supplement when I fast, or I gotta do this, or I have to eat this specific combo of foods because it's so complicated. And you're like, no, It is complicated, but it's so beyond your control, right? Like this is just what your body does, and you have no control over it, right? Like it's unless you can tell me right now that you can just think your way into an elevated heart rate, like it's don't worry about it. Your body's got
just visualize the workout.
Yeah,
And that's it. You
right.
got it.
It's like just get out of the way. Just don't eat. Just let your body do what it does, and then you're good, right? So it's the same with building muscle. It's like you just work out, you stress that muscle. You feed that muscle, it knows what to do, right? It's not like you have to like program in on some keyboard, when this equals this, then this happens. Your body knows, right? So just sometimes you just gotta let it do what it does. And the only thing is that in real life, things take longer than we want them to, right? So you kind of think like you can cheat your way through this, and half the time you really can't. You're just sitting there going like, there's optimal rates for things to happen. Let them happen at those optimal rates, and you'll be good. So that's a large part of sort of the philosophy behind fasting is just letting your body do what it does.
Sure. And I want to say, like, and I was talking about this yesterday, it's kind of like, and it's an analogy that's used often, but the human genome has not really changed that much from caveman times, or whenever that was. Don't quote me on exactly when that was, but
Flintstones era.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. I'm gonna assume at that time, just naturally, what was happening is you were kind of maybe going through maybe several days without obviously a big meal, but grazing on smaller things, berries, vegetables, or whatever, and then eventually, running around, being very active for long periods of time on, at the very least, if not not fasting, eating very low calories, and eventually you make a kill and you have a big feast, and then and that process continues. Now you go 2 or 3 days and where you're not having that feast and you're eating very, if not fasting, low calories. I'm assuming that's just the way the body works naturally, even though we've been doing things a certain way for the last however long, right?
Yeah, and I like to think of like I know for sure my body's smarter than I am. Like it just knows what it's doing.
And you're a pretty smart dude, man.
Yeah, and I'm not going to outsmart this thing. I'm not going to think my way into I'm just going to age backwards. If I think hard about this, it'll work, right? Like you don't have that kind of control yet. And so you just got to trust that, like I don't worry constantly about making sure my heart's beating, right? Or that I'm breathing. Like that would be really stressful, actually, now that I think about it.
I got to stop doing that.
Yeah, right. And so, like, I just gotta be conscious of the fact that I'm delivering the proper amount of blood to my right bicep. Those things just happen, right? So the same with once you kind of go through the data and you're like, wow, it's just this is what happens when you fast. Like, and I'm not going to change this, but I may as well take advantage of it and just not eat. And that's kind of my viewpoint on it.
Sure. So let's talk about this idea of breaking the fast, and let me just throw a hypothetical situation at you, because I know people are like, okay, like they might have said there was a imaginary mark at like 40 calories, but let me throw it like this at you. Like, let's just say, or for example, like if I take my fish oil, that's a gram of that is already over 40 calories, right? So if I'm taking that, am I breaking my fast, or what's going on there? Let me throw this hypothetical situation at you. Say I normally eat 3,000 calories, and just during the course of whatever the fast period was, we'll just call it 24 hours because normally I eat that, right? Say I eat 300 calories. Say I had a protein shake and some other stuff in there. Like, is that really breaking a fast? I mean, is there an imaginary line? Like, people freak out about, like, anything with calories is breaking the fast. I mean, is this really happening, or what's going on there?
In a number of ways, yes, but in real terms, no. So I'll first explain it like, okay, my general rule is, if you can go without, go without. If you can't, don't. So if you're sitting there going like, Pilon, I'm all in on this fasting thing, but black coffee is the devil, and I will never drink it, and I need to have some cream in my coffee. And I'm okay, well, what is some cream? And they're like, it's exactly, I measured it like a tablespoon. I'm like, so if I say no to a tablespoon of cream, you're just never going to fast. But if I say yes to a tablespoon of cream, then you would actually fast, with the exception of that like 90 calories or whatever it is. I'm like, well then, do the tablespoon. If it's that important, do the tablespoon of cream. But if you're just being a baby, right, and you just don't want to do it, or you're trying to find a way to hack the system, because if I say yes to that 1 tablespoon of cream, and you're then going to come back and you say, well, can I do a tablespoon of cream every 92 minutes? Then I'm like, hey, you're just trying to cheat your way. I'm like, you're going to be hungry. I'm not
acting like a little bitch. Just stop acting like a little bitch. Just get it done.
And again, you're trying to cheat a system, and I'm like, what benefit do you think a tablespoon of cream every 91.5 minutes is going to do for you, right? Just chill. And so that's my idea, because we don't have a general idea. The one thing we didn't do is some titration experiment. We're like, oh, hey, look, at exactly 13.12 grams of glucose, the fast is over. Like, it doesn't really exist. You bump in and out of the fast. As growth hormone was going up, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I completely forgot I was fasting, and I had some coffee and had some cream in it. It's not like the growth hormone was like, oh, done. Sorry, starting from 0, right? It's going to go like, that's the actual sound it makes, right?
Yeah.
But what I don't want is then people kind of like slowly that turns into like, well, I can probably do 100 calories. And they're like, well, I can do 100 calories. I can probably do 220, which is roughly a Snickers bar. If I can do 220, I can probably do a 6-inch sub, because that's like right around 300. It's probably not a big deal, right? And then again, we're back down to it. If you're a 6'6" pro athlete, a 6-inch sub is 300 calories is not that big of a deal. If you're a 5'2" woman, that was half your. Like, you're like, oh, I'm so totally still fasting, eating a 6-inch sub, right? So it really comes down to the practice and practicality of it, where it really needs to be. Look, let's just stay strong. Teach yourself that you actually have this restraint. Find a coffee bean you like as a black coffee. Just do this, right? Like, take this as a personal quest to find the type of coffee you can drink black. Like, you can, or like go for, have you ever tried Perrier versus Pellegrino? Like, you figure out what sparkling water works for you, but don't just start cheating because you're just a little tired of not eating. Right? And so it's more, to tell you the truth, it's purely a philosophical thing more than it is a science hard fact thing. I don't know the exact number, but I do know that it's a slippery slope between, okay, a little bit of cream and sugar. I'm like, then all the cream and sugar in my coffee, right? And then I'm not fasting, and then I'm modifying my fasting. And then you're still doing good stuff. You're still intermittently dieting, but it might not be the same, and it tends to just do that whole slippery slope. So I just kind of do the level up. It's
just go all in and don't take your chances of falling out of it with basically calories for the most part.
Yeah, and also then you're just reinforcing that expectation and wants driving how you look, right? And we're like, the way Eat Stop Eat's designed, you still eat every day. So if you and I were to start fasting today at noon, we fast till tomorrow at noon. So you still eat every day, and you sleep through a big chunk of it. So if you're really sitting going, like, Pilon, I am craving a handful of berries. There's only like 90 calories. Berries are good for you. I'm like, Frank, you have 3 hours to go. You just wait and then have the berries. Prove to me and prove to yourself you can do that, and you're only going to get better at fasting as you go on, right? Sure. Whereas the berries might be then berries in coconut milk, and then they might be berries, coconut milk, and a side of something, right? So just, if you can, take the whole restraint is good for you philosophy and try to push through. That's my view.
Or like, as in most things, they tend to snowball as you go, which is why you're recommended against it. By the way, you can always tell like a disgruntled fitness professional that's heard thousands and thousands of either excuses or people's reasons why it's not working. And, I can tell, man. It happens to me too. I know I get a lot of that stuff. But let's talk about training.
Yeah.
Right. In a fasted state, and I guess cardio versus resistance training. Can you do these things and then continue to fast through, without muscle wasting and big problems? Is there a difference between the intensity level between cardio and strength training?
All right, so people hate this part. Couple points here.
Here we go.
One, once you start lifting weights and you're actually like giving her, like, this isn't just like a soup can, like you're stressing and challenging your muscles, you're not really burning fat anymore to a significant degree. Like, that very act is pushing you towards a carbohydrate burning metabolism. after a 24-hour fast, the cool thing is your biceps, your pecs, your quads, they're still as chock full of glycogen, which is their sugar source, as they were when you started your fast. The sugar in your blood largely comes from your liver, right? The muscles don't like sharing at all. Like not even with each other, right? They're exclusionist.
All to myself.
Exactly. They're not nice people, right? They got their priorities.
They're worried about nobody else.
Exactly. So from that point of view, it's not like the workout, especially a weight training one, is all of a sudden going to like massively increase the fat burning. At the same time, it's not like the fast is going to massively hinder your workout ability, right? Like I will squat, I will deadlift, I will, if I have to during a fast, I will. I don't typically work out in the middle of a fast. It's usually right at the end. Actually, to tell you the truth, if you're doing stop eat and you're fasting once or twice a week, and if you're really concerned about the nutrition around your workout, if you can't manage 3 to 4 days of working out in 1 or 2 fasts a week in a way that you're not stuck going like I have no choice but to work out dead set in the middle of this fast, you're being either way too inflexible with your workouts or way too inflexible with your fasting. So right off the bat, if it is an issue for someone, it's like, no, I don't like it. I don't like the feel. I'm like, it's cool. You don't have to do it, right? But I'm telling you that the effect it has on your ability to build muscle is negligible, right? You're still going to build muscle because you still challenge. That muscle still has to repair. It's not like you're like, I'm going to just beat the crap out of my pecs. I'm going to get a huge inflammation response. I'm going to initiate satellite cells. I'm going to do everything you're supposed to make them grow. And your body's like, oh, dude, you didn't eat in this 42-minute window, so you're screwed. They're actually going to, you're probably shrinking away right now. It's like that repair job still needs to get done. It might get delayed a bit.
Wasted the last 5 years of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything you've done since you were 18, gone, right? Like
done.
So, and I'm like, that's hard because all I've ever done is train chest. So, but yeah, so it's sometimes you're delaying the process. If you're I work out 14 times a week type of guy or girl, then maybe you're hindering some of that effect. But if you're just a rational human being and you're 3 to 5 times a week, you're still getting that growth. So it really just does become a matter of when do you really like to train? When do you get your best workouts? Like, are you a noon? Are you a morning? Are you a nighttime person? Like, that's when you train. And then when do you like fasting? All right, let's see if we can make these things work together. But I don't really feel like one optimizes the other. I think they just work synergistically together. I think that fasting and weight training is just a beautiful combo. But I don't think there's this like hard fast. You should actually work out at the beginning of your fast or end of your fast or 14 hours after your fast. I just think in the course of a week, you're stressing every muscle group and like you're really challenging them, and you're eating and you're fasting. You're taking breaks from eating. I think that's just the perfect setup for fat loss and muscle growth. And I think that you can really get caught in the minutia of like, yeah, but I need to do cardio during my fast. And like, you don't need to. Like most of the stuff people forget is if a research study shows that something's better than another thing, it's just slightly better. So, if your protocol versus my protocol, and your guys gain 6 pounds in 5 weeks, and my guys gain 5 pounds in 5 weeks, they both still gained, right? And then maybe by 8 weeks, it all just levels out, right? It's not like rarely ever is it, well, these guys were fasting and these guys were fasting, but they kind of worked out a bit. And these guys gained, 0 and lost 0, but these guys, they gained like 100 pounds and lost 100. It's never that extreme. So it really is just about what can you do consistently. And again, letting your body do what it knows how to do. We don't have as much control as we think we do, right? There's no sneaky little tricks. You're like, that's going to make a massive improvement. There are things you can do when you're getting ready for a show and where the difference between 6.2 and 6% body fat is like a win or a 5th place. Then you want to tweak with this stuff, right? But if you're sitting there going, no, I just want to get back in a decent enough shape. I'm going to my sister's wedding and it's in Mexico and I want to look good in a bathing suit. Then worrying and stressing about these little things is probably more harm than good. So I just like the idea of, are you fasting? Check. Are you working out with weights? Check. And then, are you eating a reasonable amount of food on all the other times? Not too little, not too much? Check. I'm like, you're going to get there. You're just be consistent.
Sure. So, the big point, I guess, is don't stress, don't fret about the small details so much.
Yeah.
The protein shakes here or directly after, the BCAAs
Yeah,
there,
no.
muscle wasting. What time am I doing this? What time am I not? Just as long as you're kind of following, hey, I'm going to fast at these times. I'll just do what I normally do. Where it falls, it falls. And I'm going to eat at these times, and I do what I normally do. And where that falls, it falls.
Yeah, and you get a bit of a rhythm. So I like, if I'm training and it's vertical pulls, I'm doing weighted chins. Well, I'm no dummy. I'm doing those fasted, right? Because there's 4 or 5 pounds I'm not lifting, right? So,
Sure.
but it also helps me control my numbers, right? But if you're the type of person who's like, Pilon, dude, I'm really trying to work on my squat, and when I squat fasted, not only are my weight down, but the amount of reps I can do are down, and I'm just not mentally into my squat, then my answer is don't squat while you're fasted. Save that for when you're not.
Sure.
But if you're like me and you're like, I can, I'm actually like dialed in crazy focus in when I shoulder press fasted, it's my best shoulder press. I'm like, well, then do that one. But I just want you to get the most stimulus to those muscles as possible, right? I don't care how or when or what sort of combo of fasting and fed you do to get that, just get it. And then the eating you do on all the other times you're eating, that's just gonna help rebuild it. The fasting is gonna help with the regeneration. Like you're gonna grow. It's always a bit slower than we hope it is, but it's gonna happen. And then just get at it. So that's sort of my view there. I like to really prioritize the actual feel and effectiveness of the weight training over any sort of magic you do before or after.
Sure. And that's the big point right there is like it's gonna feel different for different people. So like I'll actually notice, and then again you'll hear some people say, well, listen, if you're going for like peak performance and your fucking numbers really matter. I discussed this yesterday as well. Like you're going for peak performance and your bench press numbers and your 40-yard dash and your vertical jump and all whatever it is that you do, your marathon times, all that stuff really matters. Then maybe fasted is not the best method. Maybe it's a little bit better to have a little bit more energy through nutrition. But I'll actually personally find that, to be honest, like my workouts I tend to feel a little bit more sluggish after I've had a meal when I'm in the gym.
That's me. Yeah, I don't want to train. I want to couch it.
Yeah, whether it's directly after or even a couple hours later. So I've experimented with that myself personally, and like fasted, I feel pretty good. So it's like, shit, I might as well rock and roll with that stuff. And again, my numbers don't matter so much to me. I'm not trying to break personal records every time I go in the gym. I'm trying to be lean, athletic, and look good, feel good. If I got that, then it's good. So I don't care if I get a couple less reps here or there. And some people do, So you have to find the right balance that works for you, depending on what your goals, and kind of rock from there. So good. We touched on all that. Let's we got just a couple minutes left here, so let's go into so we're talking about fasting, and some people may not even understand so. Let's talk about time frames and available protocols for what you might do. And I know again, I think you say was it the 16-8? Is that the way you use typically?
Yeah. So I'm 24 hours once or twice a week, and that's what Eat Stop Eat's been since 2007, right? So it's once or twice a week, and people get confused about that. But let's say you fast every 5 days, then maybe this week you fast Monday, Friday, and next week you fast Wednesday. Maybe it's twice a week where you fast every Monday, Thursday. Maybe it's once a week you just fast Mondays. But with Eat Stop Eat, the key is that 24 hours is always divided between 2 days. So if you and I started today at noon, we'd fast till tomorrow at noon. That allows for a lot of flexibility. So I fast right now, Sunday, Monday is a noon to noon fast. But Wednesday, and this is just the way I like it, is like an 8 p.m. to 8 p.m. fast. And so flexibility. I can change the start and stop times depending on how they're affecting me or my sleep or my schedule or whatever the kids are doing, that kind of crap. So you get this ability to kind of move things around. So it really works.
8 a.m. in other words, just whatever, what works for you.
Exactly.
Whatever works.
Yeah, my wife likes to have breakfast and then fast. I'm like, I can't do that. There's no way I can eat a little meal and then fast the next day. I like middle of the day or towards the end of the day.
Yep, me too.
It's really psychological, right?
Yep.
So a lot of flexibility. Now, back in '07 when Eat Stop Eat came out, like same time, different part of the world, Martin Berkham was starting to push the idea of 16-8, right? So he was like, no, I like the regimen of fasting every single day, right? So he believed in fasting for 16 hours, again, over the night. So you still, both versions, you sleep through the hardest part. But his main thing, and it's changed, and it's now a very small part of what he does, but I think it was fast all the way up to, let's say, 2, then train, then get your eat on, right? You're like 8 hours of like eating as if you're trying to build muscle.
Yeah.
And so those really are the two prominent schools of thought with fasting, right? You're 16-8 and you're 24. Then they've both been kind of adulterated and changed around. So 16-8 got a book from Men's Health called The 16-8 Diet, I think. And then Eat Stop Eat, there's a guy in England who did the 5-2 diet, right? Like I should have named it the 5-2 diet apparently.
Sure.
But so different variations and versions, and those are the two main types. And then what happens is people start like taking them, being like, if I can do 16-8 and 24, I'm gonna mash them all together. And then you have the people who are like, I fast for 24 hours twice a week, and then I fast for 20 hours all the other day, and it gets really confusing. So my general rule is my approach is like an intermittent fasting. So you're eating most of the time, and you're breaking up periods of eating with the occasional fast. So you're still eating is still your default setting, and the break is the fast. When you start fasting 24 hours, once, twice a week, and all the other times you're fasting for 20, you're intermittently feeding. I mean, you're literally breaking up fasts with just some food and back into fasting. So they're different in what they're actually providing you, but I don't know exactly which one's better. I like to err on the side of I like eating, so it's always going to be a break from eating for me, right? And they're going to be strategic yet flexible. I don't like regimen. I don't really like structure, right? Like in my eating, it's funny because then when it comes to my workouts, I'm like, Rain Man doing the numbers. But when it comes to my fasting, I just sort of like to be able to do it when I need it. But other people cannot handle that. Like if you're a Excel spreadsheet guy, girl, if you're like, oh, my monthly budget's on my spreadsheet, and here's my daily gas mileage that I've done, and I'm tracking all, you're probably better off doing like 16-8. Like if you know that every single day you do not eat till 2, and there will never shall there be a break in that rule. If that's your kind of personality.
If that doesn't happen, then the world ends. Like
yeah,
the
exactly.
sky falls.
Yeah. Where if you're like me and there's like, you know what? Today is a brunch day and I'm having mimosas. Then you can't do that, right? Like if your life prioritizes around the availability of mimosas, then you may want the other version, right? So, but it really is just, are you taking a break from eating or a break from fasting, and then how much structure do you like, and then you just play with them. And like once you say, nah, Pilon, I'm going to try your version and Eat Stop Eat, I'm not making you sign like a lifetime contract, right? So in 2 months, if you're like, nah, I'm going to try that Lean Gains dude's version, or I just saw this Grego Gallagher guy on YouTube and I want to do what he does. Like you can experiment. I will not be mad if you experiment and you come back, Eat Stop Eat, or like fasting is something to be played with, and it's something that you can really personalize, right? So
there's no cancellation policy, so you're good. You get out if you need to, month to month.
Exactly. Yeah, my policy's fantastic for that stuff. But and the same thing, even when I say 24 hours once or twice a week, I get people who are like, Pilon, I can do 22, no problem. Like every time, I just can't do 24-hour fasting's not for me. I'm like, no, Pa, if you can do 22, man, you do 22. Right? You don't have 24 is just a really nice, convenient number, kind of fits. Right? If you're like, I can do 20, and I know you're not just selling out. Like if you're like, I can legit do 22, but there's something psychological past that, it just doesn't fit, or then I got to go to work and I have meetings and it's horrible. So it's really like a lifestyle thing. Do 22, right? Like again, read the books, go like, hey, there's a bunch of good ideas here. Try them out, and then be like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a 24-hour fast on Sunday, Monday, but I'm doing a 16-hour on Thursday, Friday. That's all I can fit. Beautiful, right? Like you just go with it and make it your own. That's all fasting really is, right? So,
which is great great coaching in itself really is tailoring it to the individual. And and Brad is what he gets is being the forefather of this whole movement here. He gets thousands and thousands of questions about this stuff. Um, so you can tell he's answered a few and got them all in his day. But I think probably like the big point, or what people should understand is like if you're trying to lose a little bit of fat, generally over the course of the week, your numbers have to balance out. It doesn't hurt to kind of know numbers and understand them. So you can
Totally.
choose whatever fasting and eating protocol you kind of put together that works for you, that keeps you sane, that keeps you eating the appropriate amount of calories. But for example, again, if I eat roughly 3,000 calories a day at maintenance over the course of 7 days, not to freak everybody out, but that's 21,000 calories.
Yeah.
So at the end, if I choose to fast 24 hours here and 12 hours there and 6 hours, whatever it is, at the end of the week, if I roughly hit 2,100 calories, I'm pretty much going to maintain out for the most part. If I want to lose a little fat, then I'm going to cut a few calories down from that. If I cut too much, then I'll probably waste too much muscle. If I go over that amount during the course of the week, I'm probably going to put on some fat, So again, you kind of want to know roughly where you're at. And then over the course of the week, depending on what works for you, what keeps you sane, what keeps your energy levels working, and and keeps you working hard in the gym, keeps you focused on all your other stuff. Whatever kind of protocol kind of works for you is the best thing. It's kind of what you're saying.
It really is a rolling average. Eh? Like people get so caught up in it, but you're like, no, like over the last 7-10 days, what do you think your calorie intake total was? And those rolling averages really are what determine your long-term success. So if you're like, Brad, I fasted twice this week and it was great. I'm like, awesome. And you're like, yeah. And then my rolling average was about 40,000 calories for the week. I'm like, no. Like the fasting may have helped you not gain as quickly, but unless you're 6'8" and you're a pro NBA player or something, that's probably too much, right? So it is thinking of calories as a rolling average and then using fasting to manipulate those averages is a big way this all works. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the big point here. It's something that you can use, a tool you can use if it can, and again, like when you first get into it, it's going to be a little uncomfortable to not eat for a little while based off conditioning, based on what you do during the course of a given day. But if you stick it out, can be a very, as we've kind of pointed out here and alluded to, can be a very effective fat loss protocol, body maintenance, and just dieting in general. When you diet, look, you want to be lean. Most people are starting. If you're not a bodybuilder, you're not used to being lean for the most part, or being around your target point year round, right? You're a high level athlete, you're a bodybuilder. For the most part, you're going to stay lean as possible. Most of us regular people are like, oh shit, I got fat. How do I get that off? When you got to do that, you have to do a diet. And like Brad said, like most diets work when you follow them. Intermittent fasting is a nice strategy to be able to make the process of eating a little bit less when you might be hungrier, because if you're going to lose fat, you're going to have to cut some calories. It makes that process a little bit easier because now you can eat in a smaller window. So chances are if I just eat in a smaller window, I'm not going to eat as much as if I eat all day for the most part, or whatever it is. Or I can cut calories, in Brad's favorite method, which is 2 times a week, and then just eat normal or even eat more because I did that. So again, if I eat 3,000 calories a day, if there's 2 days where I go 24 hours where I don't, well, now again, basically to kind of get at maintenance or even to lose a little bit, I probably might have to eat 35 or 30. I don't have the math numbers in my head right now, but you get to eat a little bit more. So you may enjoy that.
Yeah,
right? You may enjoy doing that.
That's the main thing, right? Is just that freedom. And anybody who's ever tried to design a 1,200 calorie a day diet, you look at that piece of paper and it's half filled in. You're like, this sucks. And you're like, but I want you to follow this for 16 weeks, right? And to know you're on that kind of regimented diet, and you go with your friends and you're looking at some dessert, and the calories are listed on the menu, and you're like, it looks amazing, but 600 calories. And you're like, that's literally half my day.
Sure.
Right. So anything you can do to make life a bit more enjoyable while you're trying to keep calories under control is going to help, right? So if you're like, that's too low, but if I could add 400 or 500 calories, 300 or 400 calories even to each day, that'd be way more manageable. I'm like, yeah, well, just take it out of this day. Like
And you get that because you just didn't eat a whole day. So now I got extra calories to play with
yeah,
when I am eating. So I kind of got to deal with it for a little while. And again, once you do this, folks, it's like it's not that hard. You know,
fun with
depending on your
numbers.
day, depending on your lifestyle and what you're doing. Like I tend to fast. Like I want to fast like Monday and Tuesday. Like I'm more busy at work.
Yeah,
I'm probably not going out and socializing as much. I'm probably not going to fast on a Friday or Saturday where tend to be more socially and you're doing stuff. You know, so again, the way you position these things work for you. If you don't socialize at all, you know, even better. Then you don't have to worry about any of that. But most people are being social, and like you said, you want to eat something that's more calories. Well, you just took them from another day or another time during the week, so it makes dieting and enjoying yourself a little bit easier once you get past the initial kind of shock again of not eating for a little while. But once you do that, I mean, it's relatively simple.
Yeah, and then the other thing is too is, I mean, it makes sense when you say it out loud, but a lot of people don't think about this. Is the leaner you get, the less you have to fast, right? So it's either, man, I'm actually pretty lean right now, so instead of 24 hours twice a week, I might do 20, or it might be like I'm really lean on maintaining. I might fast once every 10, 15 days, right? Like, so it is, again, it's a tool you can manipulate, and as you get closer to your goal, you can lighten up on how much or how often you fast. And that's another good way of thinking about the fact that it's not this like permanent thing you're now signing up to for the rest of your life, right? You get to play with it a bit.
Sure. And like just to touch on that quickly, like you're in real time always kind of assessing what's going on and what you need to do because your metabolism is kind of up regulating when it wants to and down regulating when it wants to at different times. So you're assessing what's kind of working as it's going because ideally, our metabolism doesn't really stay in the same place for many people. If you have drastic changes, if you're dieting heavy, or you spend a period of time trying to bulk and put on more weight, I mean, the metabolism is going to change based on training strategies and eating strategies over the course of a year, kind of fluctuating up and down. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't think I wouldn't say just metabolism. I would say your entire physiology changes and fluctuates, right? So it's everything, and so yeah, you do have to be aware of that, and you do have to adjust as needed.
Awesome. So big points here, ladies and gentlemen. A brilliant dieting strategy, a brilliant fat loss strategy, something that you can kind of play with and use to your advantage when you need it. That can help you get the body and the fitness level that you're looking for. A lot of physical benefits, health benefits, all very good stuff.
Nice.
Brad,
all right.
Appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate it. We've been
No
rocking
worries,
on. I'm
brother.
sure we could talk about this stuff all day. But
I do.
yeah, definitely. We appreciate the insight over here, and hopefully one day we'll catch up soon and dive deeper into it again.
You know it.
Brad, thanks a bunch.
No worries, brother. Talk soon.
Appreciate it, man.